All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. Welcome to another live stream. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. All right, so these are financial mistakes that you can't make right now. I'm looking at the landscape and I'm saying, okay, if it was up to me to choose, like, we're going to go over four, but what are four financial mistakes that you could not absolutely make right now because it's just going to be detrimental to your future, your financial future. So you got to avoid these mistakes. All right, so let's get right into the list. Let's not waste any time. All right, number one, the first financial mistake that you cannot make right now is not being invested in either the AI or crypto blockchain space or both. I think these spaces are going to be the next internet. So, I mean, we know what the internet did as far as Amazon, Facebook, and all these huge blue chip companies. It was just a lot of opportunity to make a good amount of money. And if you were in it, you're probably sitting pretty right now, right? So we can't afford to not be in AI or crypto. Now, this could be either one or two things, right? The first thing is being invested in a stock or an actual crypto project. I think that's the first opportunity right now, especially in the next 2 to 3 months. I think we're going to start to see a lot of these AI companies, a lot of these AI cryptos or blockchain just in general, like something like Solana or an Avalanche. Again, not financial advice, but I just think we're going to see a big boom in the blockchain space and also in the AI space. And a lot of those projects do intertwine. So you got to do your research and see which ones they are. But I think we're going to see a good amount of projects in stocks 3 to 5x in the next 6 to 12 months. And again, when we look at what we can get on the market as far as returns, if we look at savings accounts, if we look at bonds, I mean, you're getting like 3 to 5%. It's not a lot of money, right? And then even if you look at the S&P, you're going to be getting 8 to 10% a year. So it's going to take you about 5 to 7 years to double your money, triple your money in the best case scenario. So when you get an opportunity where you can double or triple your money, you really need to take it serious. So we can't afford to not be in the AI or crypto space. I think it's going to be very valuable. It's going to make a lot of people a lot of money, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, millionaires, I think in the next year or two, and you can't afford to miss out. So that's the first way to the first financial mistake, but that's the first part of it. But the second part of it is kind of using AI on a daily basis or just often, right? So this is the second way you can't afford to not be invested. And specifically AI, I think AI is just going to make your job a lot easier. Whatever you do for a living, you can use AI to get ahead. And it could be just as simple as downloading Chat GPT or like a Venice AI or a Perplexity or something like that to make your job a lot more efficient. I use AI pretty much every day to get information that I need, and it's at the tip of my finger, right? You got to think about it. What made the internet popular is the access of information it gave everybody, and kind of like AI is taking it to that next level where it's like, okay, yeah, you could have looked up everything on Chat GPT on Google before, but it's more of the readiness of the information. It's really at the tip of your finger at this point. So yeah, you could find it on Google, but you have to keep searching everywhere, and you don't know sometimes if you're getting the right information. And Chat GPT is basically honing in and giving you everything you need. You can literally ask it any question, business, personal, and it'll give you a really good answer. I think somebody was saying on Twitter how it's basically has the knowledge of a PhD student. So we can't afford to not be using this very often. I use it on a daily basis, but I think we're going to get to a point where everybody's going to be using it. It's going to be integrated into our systems, and you got to be using it. And even on the blockchain side, a lot of these projects are coming up with cool ways to move money, make interest on your money. So even on the blockchain side, people are going to start using that each and every day. the world is going to adopt it, and you want to be the first one to be using this technology. So those are the two ways: actually be invested in a stock or some type of crypto and using the technology, right? So, but that's number one. Number two is building a personal brand. You can't afford to not build a personal brand in 2025. Again, hopefully this is not freezing. You can't afford to not build a personal brand in 2025. Um, I wish I started this a lot earlier. I started my YouTube channel 4 or 5 years ago, and I think this is freezing, but it's okay. And I wish I would have started it earlier. If I would have started this back in college, I would have been a lot further ahead. And again, I'm not getting paid for YouTube now, but it is an avenue where you can develop and potentially make that a side hustle, right? So whatever you're doing from your 9 to 5, now you have your personal brand that's bringing you either a little bit more money a month, or it could bring you more than your actual 9 to 5. Right, so you should be starting this as soon as possible. I think you should be starting this in college. A lot of people have a lot of time in college to take on some additional side hustles. I was just at the university yesterday, my university that I graduated from, and I see a lot of people have a lot of time. They're either walking around campus, you're just passing the time, or hanging out with friends, and you could use some of that time to build a personal brand, right? Get your Instagram going. Get your YouTube up, get your TikTok up. And again, everybody has a skill. Like maybe you don't teach finance, right? But maybe you're a good cook. Maybe you want to teach people how to put a meal together or a healthy meal together, things like that. Maybe you're a fitness coach. Whatever you do, you could build a personal brand out of it. I think everybody has their own unique skill that they could share with the world, and they could build a personal brand out of that. Now, your personal brand doesn't have to be solely one thing, but I just found that, if you focus on what you're good at, then later people will trust you to talk about other stuff. So yeah, that is the second thing, a personal brand. I think everybody needs a personal brand nowadays. You can't afford to not have one, and you should be building on it. You don't have to have millions of followers, but if you could build a nice base, that could be a good side income for you, and you could find ways to generate money off of that, right? All right, number three, right? There's four of these. Number three, focusing on one skill. I think a lot of the times when we're younger, I know for me this was the case, but I wanted to do drop shipping, I wanted to do Forex, I wanted to do stock trading, get into crypto and do all these things, open up a website. I really think you need to focus on one skill and not dabble into too many things. Now, let's just say if we broke it up into a percentage wise, 80% to 85% needs to go to the skill that you're really good at, and maybe use 15% to dabble in different things to see, like, okay, let me put a little bit of time in something else to see if it pops off. But for the most part, focus on one skill. I see a lot of people trying to go and be experts in so many fields, and then they end up not being an expert in anything. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on one skill very early, and then you can diversify that thing, right? Maybe you're good at a fitness business, you do that, you take the money from that fitness business, and maybe you jump into stock trading at that point. But first, you develop that first skill, right? This was my big mistake. I tried to do so many things, and what it did was it wasted a lot of time. It basically prevented me from finding that one thing that I was good at, when I could have just been spending that time at that thing that I was good at. Now, it does take some time to find what you're good at, but my rule of thumb is give it 2 to 3 years to see if it works out. And if you see some progress and you see some good some good strides, you're moving forward, then maybe that's something you need to keep pursuing, right? But after a year, 2 or 3, if you really don't see any progress and you're actually declining, maybe it's something you just need to throw out the window, right? But yeah, so that's the third one. Focus on one skill. Don't try to be too diversified in the beginning, especially in your earlier years. and try to find that one thing that you're really good at. If you could figure that out early and then start allocating a lot of your time towards that, you're going to be in a good shape going into your late 20s, early 30s, and so on and so forth. All right, number 4. The last financial mistake that you can't afford to make right now is being broke. Now, I know everybody doesn't have a skill where they can just make six figures or make millions of dollars and things like that, but you can't afford to be broke. There's a lot of people on college campuses or just not even going to college, and they're either living with their parents or living with a family member, and they're just complaining about their life, like, oh, blah, blah. But there's just so many jobs out there that you don't need to be broke these days, right? There's just so many jobs out there. Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats. Again, a lot of these retail. Again, these are not the best way to utilize your time. I think you can find other positions, but in the meantime, right, while you're trying to figure it out, you can't afford to be broke. So if you have to work 2 to 3 jobs, then do that to pull in a nice income. I think a lot of people just try to just sit to like, oh, I'm just trying to figure it out, or I'm trying to wait and make sure everything is perfect. You can't do that. You need to be moving, right? Because whether you're in corporate or not, it's just not good to stay stagnant and not have money. Because again, everything is going up in price, right? So the last thing you need to be doing is just standing still, not bringing any income in, right? I'd rather you wash dishes than be broke. And at least you're stacking up some money, at least. And then also while you're stacking up money and you're working these, maybe we call it like lower tier jobs, they're all respectable, but lower tier jobs, you're working on your plan to make more money. But you can't afford to be broke. It's not going to be good. You're going to be either getting in debt because, again, as you get older, you get a lot more expenses. And if you're out of a job, you're going to be behind substantially. Right? And I see a lot of people, again, just at home or living off somebody else, not working, and things like that, and that's not going to be productive, especially a lot of you that are in college. I know a lot of your parents say don't work and things like that, and maybe that's the case if you really have it set up like that, but I think everybody should get a job, right? Whether it's a few hours a week or something like that, just to get a sense of making your own money and saving your own money and getting ahead financially, right? So those are the 4 things right now, current day, 2025, where I think you can't afford to make these financial mistakes. We'll go over the list again. Number 1, not being invested in crypto or AI. I think these are going to be the next internet. So if you're not invested in these areas, it's not going to be good for you. I think you're going to miss out on a lot. Number 2, building a personal brand. I think having a personal brand is essential these days. Everybody should be building a personal brand. It can allow you to make a lot of side money and potentially take over your primary job, right? 4, focusing on one skill. Don't be too diversified, right? Focus on having multiple focus on one skill, and then you can have multiple skills in the future. And then number 5, you can't be broke. There's just so many opportunities to get a job, a part-time job, while you're figuring out your main thing, right? And I think this is getting very bright. But yeah, that's pretty much it. These are the financial mistakes I don't think you can make, especially this year. It's going to be really big in the years to come. And yeah, make sure you don't make them. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.